hear me okay? I'm driving, so hopefully you guys can hear me okay.
Yeah, I can.
All right. Well, I'm just starting the feed. Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, dude, this came out of left field. Like I check a few things. I'm just checking a few things this morning, and I hear somebody talk about like this is like 8:00 in the morning, talking about like, there's gonna be check out Sports Center today at 1:40. It's gonna be some industry related news, and I'm just like, nah. I'm like on a Monday.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm like, this is out of this world. And then like around 11:30, it gets out. Emoni's gonna be talking about stuff, and I'm just like, I've been hurt too many times before. I don't know if I should be excited about this.
Yeah. You're gonna watch him put on a Duke hat or something.
I didn't know what was happening. Someone was like 10 minutes.
I wasn't worried about Duke or any of those schools because the way his parents handled it from the beginning, it wasn't anything where he was, he didn't have any handlers or anything like that. So everything that they've said to this point, they've kind of come through on. So I wasn't worried about Duke or, the only thing that I was worried about is that maybe the NBA change the rule between now and then. I mean, that's always maybe the fly in the ointment, but it didn't surprise me one bit. Now the timing of it, sure, but like the fact that he's committed to the program. And I don't know if I've ever posted this, but I was at the game last year when we played Arizona State in football. It was a big alumni weekend for the football team, and I think it was alumni weekend for Hoop, if I'm not mistaken. But he was on the sideline. I was down on the field, and he was on the sideline hanging out with Jaron and Miles and Denzel and those guys. And if you didn't know that he was a kid, you would have a recruit. You would have figured he already played for the program because that's how it just looked like a guy hanging out with his teammates. It didn't look like a recruit or somebody that was potentially coming to Michigan State. It looked like somebody that already felt like they were at home.
Yep.
So it's big news. Anytime you can get that type of prospect, to commit to your school is big time news. And I think the bigger issue is but the bigger benefit is what it does with some of these other kids who want to play with him.
Yep. Max Christie, and there's a handful of them.
So I don't really follow Twitter that much, but my son, was talking about, because my son's 15, so he follows these guys closely. He was talking about how many kids Michigan State was, trending with these young kids now because of that Emoni, that commitment.
Yep.
That's speaking of like kids want to play with, because I remember like a few weeks ago, I heard some rumors that people were talking about like the reason why Christie was getting like on 24/7 getting crystal balls to come to state, and Atkins to come to state just surprisingly stopped. Like the momentum stopped was because something else was like a bunch of moving parts is what I heard, and then this happens. So this makes me think like this is like the floodgate opening. Like I think some other people are going to.
It could be from the standpoint, big time kids want to play with other big time kids, and I'm gonna tell you where I think this is going to be just. I mean, not just so much with this class, but classes beneath this. Now you become a viable option.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's big from that standpoint. I do expect him to reclassify him. He makes, like, to me, if and this isn't any inside info, this is my opinion. If you're gonna wait to 2022, I don't think you commit summer of 20.
Right.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
No,
so this feels like one of those things where I think, and that's something that I'm not going out on a limb saying that people expect him to reclassify, but I think this, points the needle in that direction even further.
Yeah, I mean, shit. I mean, it's for him too. What else do you have left to prove? I mean, on the AAU circuit, you're averaging 32 and 10. In the high school circuit, you're averaging 28, 9 and 6. I mean, as a sophomore.
Right.
There's not.
I mean, everybody's seen what they seen enough that and at some point it's just not going to be a challenge.
And not even just that, like a safety perspective. Like we all
Absolutely.
saw some kids getting jealous and trying to fight him in regular open play.
Yep.
So I'm like, if I'm his parents, I'm definitely not putting him around people who he can easily beat and get pissed and try to snipe his leg or something.
Right. Yep. And you know what else will happen too? Like, and this is just from my perspective, having been recruited, not on certainly not on that level, but you do kind of get tired of it, man. Like, it's fun at first, but like it gets exhausting. Like, okay, but I had enough. I know where I want to go. I know what I want to do. That's just one less thing you got to worry about. Go out and play and have fun, and some of the calls will slow down. So from that standpoint, I know it's a lot of pressure off the young man to just be able to be a kid and go play ball and put some of that recruiting stuff behind him a little bit.
Oh yeah, I mean, like he definitely looked a little tired of the whole process on Sports Center. Like
Yep.
the situation and everything. Like he played it smart though. I mean, it's no secret that if the NBA, which I don't think they're going to do, changes that rule to be one and done, he's out. Like yeah, he's done.
I mean, there's no reason to go play college ball if you don't have to. But some other things, like I don't see the G League as a viable option for him. And then I don't know if you guys remember, saw on Big Ten Network, Robbie Hummel was talking about Josh Langford and the kind of medical care that he may receive if he were to go overseas and the facilities. And what Robbie Hummel said that oftentimes that in these big time D1 programs, the facilities are better than what you'd have overseas.
Yep.
So I don't know if it's, and then you factor in COVID, and we don't know what this is going to look like, certainly this year or next year. I think that takes overseas off the table for a lot of these young guys as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
Europe won't let any Americans come there.
Right.
I mean, they're making exceptions for those kind of guys, but at the same time, I mean, there's a lot of unknown.
But I mean, if you're a 17, 18-year-old kid, are you in a hurry to, go to Australia to hoop and you can just go an hour and a half away from home?
Yeah.
I mean, and he has buddies on the team, and he knows Gabe and, Mike Garland, some of these guys that he already has relationships with. His parents feel comfortable. To me, it's a pretty simple, kind of a no-brainer situation for him.
Yeah, and at the same time with him, I mean, you may look at it as, Michigan State, because everyone assumed he was going to find a way to reclassify and go. Michigan State's the only one that really hard recruited him. It may be one of those things where he said to the staff, obviously if the rule changes, I'm gone. But you guys have shown me a lot of love for the last several years. So, I'll throw my name on there and, get whoever else you can get to come, with me running the flagship on it. Maybe it's just kind of doing him a solid for doing him a solid.
I mean, listen, I think that's always out there, that if the rule changes, obviously the situation changes. But, where we're at right now is we have the number one kid committed to our program. So, you know what I mean?
And he might want to be a hometown hero. Like he goes to state with the new likeness laws coming out. There's no way the G League's going to be able to pay him the amount of money that Michigan State's brand is going to be able to give him. Like, I mean, it might be crazy to say this, but he might be a college kid in a year who can make $10 million in college just off his name. Because like they're talking like Zion was getting $100 million contract the moment he got out of Duke. I can only imagine what Emoni's going to get.
Oh, it's going to be big.
I think he hopped up disconnected. He'll probably hop back on. But man, that's crazy. That's crazy to think about. Because I remember when Miles stayed for his sophomore year, he got what was it, like a $10 million insurance policy the school paid for?
$10 million injury insurance policy, and the school paid for it.
Yeah, like that's incredible. I mean, this is monumental, man. I mean, all right. What were you saying? Like he could average in college, and like those numbers sound insane, but like that might be conservative, man.
Yeah, I mean, shit. You think about it, and has he really had to? I mean, the competition's going to be a little better, across the board, but I'm not willing to say that he's looked like he's exerted himself at 100% in the highlights that I've seen, and he's just rope-a-doping, 28-9 for fun. I mean, when he's playing AAU, and AAU doesn't have as good defense, but when he's playing AAU, he's going 32, 10, and 7. I mean, so if he progresses at all, would it be shocking in college as a freshman to see him go average of 35, 9, and 6? No, not to me. I mean, not with his body and his skill set. I mean, shit, he's got the wingspan of someone who's 7'1" and he can drill threes.
Right, man. I mean, it's just like I think about like the scores we've had, and it's like just recently we got Rocket to come, and he's now in Emoni's level in terms of like prestige that people put on him. But I mean, there's or even you can go back to Keith Athley too. Like there's legends of them like going crazy in high school, right?
Yeah.
Just like in 50-point, 60-point games, and like Emoni, what it was a freshman year, sophomore year, he was doing that, and against people who these are against like good teams. Like these aren't like bad players like going against them.
Well, it was third game of high school, he dropped like 45. You know what I mean?
And he's a shooter. He's not just dunking. Like no. 3-point shot is pure. He like his ability to create and just handle the ball is it's so many things, man. And like he looks skinny, but he's getting boards, man. Like you don't just grab like I especially like the fact that he has like this. You can see he has like the dog in him, man. Like people talk about kids who are good, but they aren't willing to scrap for it. Emoni's like, I know I'm number one, but I'm ready. I'm willing to squab up with you, man. Like you don't see people who are guaranteed like number one NBA picks in their freshman year of high school to be ready to like risk it all for like somebody disrespecting them. Like that's good and bad, but I think he has a solid family structure where I don't think he will go overboard, but I think he's going to prove a point.
If he learns how to play Izzo defense at Michigan State and he goes into the league, he's going to have the rookie of the year won by mid-December. You know what I mean? Because that's the only thing. I mean, and he's not a terrible defender, but that's the only thing lacking in his game. If you watch some of his game film, I mean, he's not a great defender. You know, he never
had to be.
Yeah, he never had to be. I mean, he can block some layups on the help side and things like that, like Jaren Jackson, because he's got that length. But you know, he's not a great on-ball defender. But if he plays for Izzo for a season, he will be a great on-ball defender.
But like, let's say this. So they're talking about like, so his I think his dad is making a prep school, right? So his dad gets a prep school, and then he comes out next year. So we're talking about who's going to be on the squad next year. I'm automatically eliminating Henry. He's leaving this year coming up. That's what it seems like. But you're going to still have presumably Gabe. Like Gabe's going to be there. He's going to be at that point. I see the want to be a good defensive player in Gabe. Like another year, I think he'll be even more solid. I mean, you'll have Rocket for like on-ball defense. Like, he'll have to learn defense, but he won't have to be that guy to stop somebody. Like there's going to be, and there's still like that one kid's coming this year who's a center. Like DeSoto. He's like it's set up for it's not set up for him to have to be like super class A defensively. Like he'll have to do it, but like there's going to be guys there who will be like the primarily defender, and he's just going to be just getting buckets. Like
and then you got Hoggard. I mean, shit. That's like you can do so much with a guy like that because that guy doesn't necessarily want to just play the one, right? And you got a point forward essentially with Emoni. You've got a 1/2 with Rocket, so you've got 2 1/2s. You've got a 1/4. And then I was looking at a couple of projections just for Emoni's freshman year. Our starting 5 will probably average 6'7".
So that's ridiculous, man.
I mean, with the smallest guy on the court at any given time either being Hoggard, who I think is like 6'3", or Rocket, and like everybody else is 6'7" or above.
I mean, that's insane. I mean, it's ridiculous to think that he could come in and I feel like because he's probably gonna grow another inch or two. He might be 6'10" when he comes in, right? And I feel like before he gets there, the idea, like all the talk of Izzo not playing his players the right position, I think he's gonna put 4 guys out there in Emoni, and Emoni is just gonna be wherever he wants to be. Yep. Like I don't think I think if you're Izzo,
I think he's learned the mistakes of Miles Bridges and Jaren Jackson at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think you get a consensus number one overall player. You just let them do what they want.
Yeah.
Like nothing crazy. Like you don't let them be disrespectful. But I'm like, if he's like, I'm a 2-a-day coach, great. I'm a 3-a-day coach, fantastic. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm a 4, I'm a 5. Like, dude, I like whatever you want to do, man. Like it's like I don't know in college where he could fail. Like if he works as hard as people say he does and does what he's supposed to do, dude, like he could average 30 points in college, which is insane to me. It's insane to say that out loud.
Well, I remember when Anthony Davis was at Kentucky, and you would see some of the like sideline stuff with him and Coach Cal, because Coach Cal's, trying to coach him up and stuff like that. And I hate Coach Cal, but I can't deny that he's a good coach. But you watch the sideline stuff with them, and there would be times during games where you'd see AD just look at Cal and be like, more or less looking at him like, shut the hell up and just let me play. And, and then you could see the huddle basically stop for a second. And then, AD goes out and, grabs 5 offensive rebounds, scores 10 points, and makes 4 defensive stops on his own over the next 3 minutes. And you're like, oh, okay, well, that game's over. Because AD just was like, I'm pissed. I'm done. I got it. I know what I need to do. I just need to do what I am, which is be better than everybody else on the court.
Yeah, I mean, that's like normally you won't see that until like an Izzo kid gets to like what? Unless they're like a Gary or something. You don't see that until like junior year. Maybe like always you don't see one guy step up senior year. But
took Denzel senior year to get that kind of love. I mean, Cash, junior year halfway through, but
I think Cash's thing junior year was like he was like I can't leave out the first round again. I think that's what it was. I gotta make it past the first weekend, like just for his legacy, because he was just like all this talking. Like I think that's what I think it was. Like I think Cash was always he won a state championship too. I mean, it was all those things, and then he had the fortune to have Lawyer come on his team because people were talking like Lawyer won back to back. He's the greatest things at point guard since what's his name? Before Neitzel. He was he played in the league. He had the most assists in the game, like 30. Huh?
Yeah, Skiles.
Yes, they're like he's the greatest MSU point guard who's white and short since Scott Skiles. And they're like he's gonna take minutes from Cash. He's gonna definitely unseat him. And like I'm pretty sure Cash heard that. Like it sounds silly, but I know players hear this stuff. Oh. And the Lawyer comes in and like he doesn't do a good job his first year. And Cash was just like, you guys thought he was gonna unseat me, and now I'm gonna win Player of the Year. So it is what it is. And like it's poetic, man, that team beat the best Duke team. Like worst Duke teams beat better MSU teams than that team, and it was spectacular. I'll never forget that. But I'm sorry I ran off on that, but dude, I'm just excited. It's good to have some good Michigan State news, especially for like I don't watch ESPN like that, but for that to come on ESPN the way it did, for us to win a hat dance, it's incredible, man. Like I still don't believe it.
I'm just looking forward to see what names pop up in the next about 6 months. The names in the next 6 months are going to be, I mean, Max Christie's obviously out there, and maybe he's cooled off a little bit, but I'm guessing after he reevaluates some things, he's going to go, all right, so every single game is going to be,
national TV.
It is. I mean, and every single time that Emoni plays, it's going to be, Michigan State playing Indiana on Tuesday at 7 p.m. I mean, it's going to be a big deal every single time. And as another 5-star recruit, do you want your own name? Sure. But you can get to the league higher than you should be by being on a national championship team that crushes people. I mean, shit, look how many Kentucky guys that, spun right out of the league, ran in through there with, guys like Anthony Davis. Look how many Duke guys, ran with Jabari and found themselves, in the top 15 and stuff like that.
Yeah, man. It's gonna be a, especially if you reclassify. So that's, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you get Christie, you're gonna have Pierre Brooks on there, and he's gonna be like, people like he was his hometown hero, but now Emoni and possibly Christie come on there. He's gonna be the Zell of the team, like the 4-year guy who got brought in with like these monsters. It's just like it's insane to think about that, man. Like absolutely insane. This is cool, you know. But like it's definitely means that like if Akins is going to be on the team, that there's going to be attrition, and like I don't want to point out names who are going to probably have to leave, but I think we know one or two people who would have to be shooting out the door.
Yep. Yeah, the only way that this news could be any better is if sometime in the next 24 hours, Coach K said he was retiring. that would be the only way this news could be better to me.
Dude,
I mean, that's gonna.
It was so unceremonious how it happened today too. It just kind of just like no drama, and I'm just like, this seems like it's going too well.
Yeah, well, I randomly I was got out of court, and I just opened something up, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And then I re-downloaded Facebook, and I open up the MSU recruiting page, and I think it was Ron Underwood just posted like some random picture, and I'm like, that's not like you. You don't post random pictures of Emoni Bates with no real heading to it. And I'm like, hold on. And then, I go back to my home screen, and the first thing I see is your post. And I'm like, no, yes. All right, and I typed in ESPN.com, and I'm like, that really? I had to read 4 articles before I believed it. And I caught it within 11 minutes of his press conference.
Oh man, I'm definitely excited. I can't even I was making funny posts like on other chat sites, and I was just like, all right, so now we know he committed. What are you willing to give up to make sure he gets here?
Yeah.
Like people are just automatically I'll give up football this entire season. Don't even try it. Don't even gotta play.
Yep.
And for people who probably watch this later, who are like, why are they taking those so seriously? It's because we don't win these head dances. You might get in the top 15 for MSU kids to come in, for recruiting kids to come in, but for overall number one, it's
not even just overall number. It's not even just overall number one, man. It's like the best prospect at least since Kevin Durant. I mean, maybe Anthony Davis, maybe you could throw Anthony Davis there, but I think he's a better prospect even than Anthony Davis was. Kevin Durant, I would say I don't think he's, from what I've seen, I don't think he's as good of a prospect as Durant was. I don't think he's as good of a prospect as LeBron was. I do think he's as good of a prospect as Kevin Garnett was. And Kevin Garnett was an insane prospect. And shit, if he can be half as good as Kevin Garnett, then I'm pretty okay with life.
I think it all depends on his mental makeup, man. Because I have, you can always watch so much tape. He just looks like he has all the skills. It's just all what's between the ears.
From everything that's been said about him, he's good in the classroom. He's smart, and he does the get your ass up at 4:30 in the morning and work your tail off until 10:30 at night kind of person. So, if that's all true, then yeah, he might Magic Johnson with MSU.
Yeah, speaking of that, man, as far as he goes for Michigan State basketball, this is definitely one of those things where if everything falls right, if he reclassifies, we get Chris and all this stuff, to say we have expectations is just ridiculous. It's lowballing it. It's definitely I'm going past winning a national championship. This is damn near has to be one of those perfect seasons you win every game. You got to usurp Bob Knight's record of what is it, 40-0, because it's you don't get players like this. If I think about it. If LeBron James said if he was going to college, he went to Ohio State. Like if you look at the team Ohio State at the time, they might have won it all with LeBron James at the time, and it's like because he's still gonna like Izzo's still gonna have like kids on his roster that are like legit, and you get Emoni in there, you get another 5-star in there, you get Brooks, you get if you got Rocket still, and then you get Akins too. If all these things happen, and you still got like AJ and you got like all the bigs we have, like there should be, unless some other pops up in college, there should be no legitimate reason why they shouldn't be able to just sweep, unless some other act of God happens. Like it's like that's how high my expectations would be if all those things happen for that team.
Well, yeah, I think there's going to be 2 or 3 major 5-star recruits in the next 2 classes that none of us are thinking about right now, that all of a sudden we're going to be thinking about in like 2 months because of this. And, Max Christie, man, if he came, I'd be ecstatic. Pierre Brooks, great. But I bet you there's a couple more names that are going to get my, get me a little bit more excited even than that, that pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah, man, this is
yeah, and again, if Coach K can just retire, then Izzo can finish out his last 3 years just yanking in slates of top 20 guys, because that's what will happen if Coach K retires. He will just pull slates of top 20 guys every year.
Yeah, I mean that's the retirement gift. K's leaves, and Izzo gets a few more championships he mysteriously didn't get for a few years during his career.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, it'll be another 15 years and probably at least 5 years after Coach K dies before they find out how many hundreds of millions of dollars were pumped into people like Jabari. But well, that's okay.
I'm sure we'll hear about the Jabari thing like after Coach K retires, like 10 years afterwards. Because I remember I was listening to Rico Beard's show on like in Lansing he has, and he was talking about, I think he was talking about either Jabari or Cliff, because it was probably Jabari, because that was a couple years ago. He did show up in Moneyball. I was there, and Rico was just like, "Hey, can I tell your story now that you're a pro?" He said the recruit said, or the player said, "Nah, man, don't do that." Like I'm pretty sure. You don't like Jabari Parker's thing was like the antithesis of what happened today. Like for all accounts, like, but it was public. We were like, oh yeah, he's gonna be a Michigan State player. Like all he has to do is put the hat on, and then he gets on live TV and just crushes people's spirits. Like it is, but everything works out. I mean, like all the long suffering, all the Final Fours that should have been national championships, 2014, this year, which literally took an act of God for Michigan State to miss the tournament. Like and I mean, I just hope that it's you just gotta hope it's not like anything else, man, and that everything else led up to this, and it finally gets over the hump. We get that second championship for Izzo, and we have the players then. I mean, like it's one of those things where we would in theory have skilled players and skilled backups in all 5 positions, and that's rare. You gotta get the done. You have to get it done at that point. Just stay healthy, wrap them up in bubble tape or whatever, and just roll them out only during games, and then put them back in a time chamber or whatever.
Yep.
But man, I know you gotta go with the family. I'm happy.
Yep.
I got this.
Yeah, I'm ecstatic.
Somebody, man. I'm sure Ryan. I'll talk to Ryan and see how he's doing later. He think he had to go.
All right.
But this is fantastic, dude. We might just have to do like during football season or basketball season, like after game, like deconstructions of what happened.
I'm down.
Amazing.
I'm done. You have a good night, man.
You too, man.
Yep. See ya.